This is the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City. It is one of the most secure jails in the United States. Inside is a prisoner who knows the secrets of the world's most powerful people. It's early morning. The guards are doing their rounds, pushing breakfast carts from cell to cell. It's the same routine every single day. The guard stops at this specific door, with United States' most important prisoner inside. The guard slides the breakfast tray through the metal slot. He waits for the prisoner to take it. There is no movement, no sound from inside. He calls out to the man. Still nothing. The silence in the hallway starts to feel wrong. The guard looks through the small opening in the heavy door. Inside, he sees Jeffrey Epstein. He is hanging by a bedsheet tied to the top of a bunk bed. His legs are straight, and his hips are just a few inches off the floor. The guard pushes the door open and rushes in. He tries to bring him back, but it's too late. The body is already cold. Jeffrey Epstein is dead. Epstein was supposed to be on suicide watch with a cellmate and constant checks. But he was alone. The prison has cameras everywhere, and they are all recording, except for the ones facing this specific cell. Those cameras went dark right when it happened. Was this a technical failure, or was it the only way to make sure the world's most powerful people are not exposed? 1962, Coney Island, Brooklyn. The Epstein family lived a simple life in their small Brooklyn community. His father worked for the city's parks department, while his mother was a school aide and homemaker. Jeffrey was known as a highly intelligent and intense boy who spent hours practicing the piano and excelling in his studies. He was a mathematical prodigy from a modest Brooklyn background who viewed a college degree as a slow path to the power he craved. Driven by an intense desire to enter the world of the ultra-wealthy, he dropped out of Cooper Union and NYU because he prioritized high-level networking over academic credentials. He realized he could use his genius to charm his way into elite circles faster than he could earn a diploma. By 1974, a 21-year-old Epstein managed to secure a position at the elite Dalton School in Manhattan. Despite lacking a college degree, he convinced the administration to let him teach physics and mathematics to the children of New York's elite. Jeffrey Epstein is living in a modest New York apartment with his girlfriend. He is obsessed with his work. He is showing a high level of confidence and is dreaming of a much bigger life. He chose Dalton because it put him inside New York's elite social world. Teaching there gave him daily access to wealthy, influential parents, private tutoring opportunities, and the chance to network with wealthy. One evening in early 1976, a bushy-haired Jeffrey Epstein shows up for an event at an art gallery in Midtown Manhattan. The father of one of his students had invited him. At the gallery, Epstein ran into another Dalton parent who'd already heard whispers about the 23-year-old's remarkable math talent. This man tells Epstein plainly that he wastes his life as a teacher. He suggests that Wall Street is the only place for a man with such ambition. The parent dials a friend named Ace Greenberg, a top executive at Bear Stearns. He recommends Epstein to him as a brilliant mathematical talent. Greenberg invited Epstein to Bear Stearns' headquarters. Despite the young man being completely clueless about the mechanics of Wall Street, Greenberg finds himself remarkably impressed by his raw potential. Administrators at Dalton, unimpressed with Epstein's teaching, had asked him to leave the school after the academic year ended. Now, just like that, he had a new job that paid about $25,000 a year, roughly $140,000 in today's dollars. Jeffrey Epstein joins the investment bank Bear Stearns in 1976 as a junior assistant to a floor trader. He works in the special products division and quickly moves up to become an options trader. He uses his skills to advise the bank's wealthiest clients on complex tax strategies. One day, an employee finally reviews Epstein's long-overlooked personnel file and freezes. The academic credentials don't add up. Epstein had claimed he has degrees from 2 universities in California. When contacted, neither institution has any record of him. An executive confronts Epstein for lying about his education. Epstein calmly admits that he never graduated from college. He explains that without an impressive degree, he knew nobody would give him a chance. Surprisingly, the executive pardons him because his talent for making money is too valuable to lose. It was the first time Epstein got caught cheating and walked away clean. By charming the people in charge, he turned a mistake into a win. This became his lifelong move. After dodging the consequences of his cheating, Epstein's career took off. By 1980, at just 27, he was named a limited partner at Bear Stearns, earning $200,000 a year, the equivalent of over $800,000 today. He wants people to think he is rich and successful. In July, Cosmopolitan magazine names him Bachelor of the Month. The magazine shows a photo of him looking like a young, powerful businessman. The article says he is a wealthy trader. It says he likes to travel and wants to meet an ambitious woman. Epstein uses this feature to build a public image. He includes his address so women can write to him. He uses the magazine to prove he belongs in high society. At Bear Stearns, Epstein gets into trouble with his bosses. He gives a private loan and secret stock tips to his girlfriend. These actions break bank policy. In 1981, the bank partners force him to leave. He does not tell people he was fired. Instead, he uses his Bachelor of the Month fame to claim he is a successful independent consultant. In the late 1980s, Leslie Wexner is a multi-billionaire. He is the boss of Victoria's Secret. He is so rich that his money becomes a messy headache. He needs help managing his fortune. In 1986, a mutual friend introduces Epstein to Wexner. Epstein promises to handle all the dirty work. He offers to manage Wexner's taxes, legal problems, and private property. Epstein works with an intensity that regular accountants do not have. He makes it so Wexner never has to worry about a bill or a signature again. In 1991, Leslie Wexner signs a full power of attorney document. This legal paper makes Jeffrey Epstein a second version of Wexner. In the law, this is a rare and extreme move. It is usually only for close family. This document gives Epstein total control. He can now sign Wexner's name, move his billions, buy property, and hire or fire staff. He fires Wexner's old advisors and replaces them with people who answer only to him. Jeffrey Epstein uses the power of attorney to take over Leslie Wexner's life and build his own empire. He treats Wexner's multi-billion-dollar fortune like it is his own. He moves into Wexner's massive New York City townhouse and eventually takes ownership of it. In 1990, Epstein buys a $2.5 million waterfront mansion in Palm Beach. He uses Wexner's money, but puts the house in his own name. The estate is just 2 miles from famous elite Mar-a-Lago club. Mar-a-Lago belongs to Donald Trump, a famous New York real estate developer and celebrity. As neighbors, Epstein and Trump become close. They spend the 1990s attending the same elite parties and traveling in the same wealthy circles. This is Ghislaine Maxwell, daughter of the famous British MP and media tycoon Robert Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell moves to New York in 1991 after her father dies. She is an Oxford graduate who knows elite scientists and university leaders. As the daughter of a powerful man, she grew up surrounded by politicians and the British royal family. She met Epstein in 1991. Ghislaine has a famous name and high society connections, but she has no money. Epstein has millions of dollars, but he has no real place in the world of the global elite. Together, they give each other what they are missing. Maxwell introduces Epstein to politicians, media giants, Oxford elites, and the most prestigious figure of all, Prince Andrew, the son of Queen Elizabeth. This royal connection provides Epstein with the ultimate stamp of approval. If the British royal family trusts him, no one dares to question his character. By introducing Jeffrey Epstein to her personal network, she placed him inside rooms he could never have entered on his own. Through her presence, people assumed he belonged, that he was educated, connected, and trustworthy because he was standing beside someone who clearly was. In the same time, she observes Jeffrey Epstein's behavior for months. She begins to see his appetite for younger girls. Instead of walking away, she decided to manage it for Epstein. This is Emily, a 16-year-old high school student who dreams of being a model. While at the mall, Ghislaine Maxwell approaches her. Maxwell tells Emily she is beautiful and promises to help her career and invites her for an interview. Emily stands in a bright sunroom inside Epstein's Palm Beach mansion. There is no interview. She is in a massage room. Epstein lies on a table with a red towel around his waist. Maxwell sits in a chair, calmly sipping a cup of tea. Emily feels nervous and explains that she thought she was there to discuss her modelling. Maxwell smiles and tells her that Jeffrey is a very important and stressed man. She suggests that if Emily gives him a quick massage, he will be happy to help her with her modelling. Epstein looks at Emily and says he heard she wants to be a star. He mentions that he knows the people who run the agencies. He tells her to just help him relax, and then they can talk about her future. Emily is scared, but she sees an adult woman in the room acting like everything is fine. She tells herself this must be normal. She steps forward, trapped by a lie. Ghislaine Maxwell used money and her status to convince underage girls that she was someone they could trust. Ghislaine Maxwell was grooming underage girls by befriending them, gaining their trust, normalizing sexualized behavior, and then recruiting them for abuse by Jeffrey Epstein. The girls were often harassed by other men present in the party, not just Epstein himself. Many accounts describe a network of powerful men, businessmen, politicians, and acquaintances who were allegedly allowed or even encouraged by Epstein, and sometimes by Ghislaine Maxwell, to engage with the young girls. It was a psychological trap. If a girl felt uncomfortable, she would look around and see a president or a prince. She would tell herself that if something bad were happening, these powerful people wouldn't just sit there and watch. But they did. Their presence wasn't a rescue, it was a shield. At the same time, Epstein was very focused on building his public image and connections with powerful people. His next target was Bill Clinton. When Clinton was running for presidency in the early 1992, Epstein tried to get close to him and his team. He donated money to Clinton's campaign and to related political causes. When Bill Clinton became the president, Jeffrey Epstein was already on his radar through political donations and his connection to Ghislaine Maxwell. He soon became part of Clinton's social circle. Epstein visited the Clinton in the White House at least 17 times between 1993 and 1995. These appearances made him seem powerful and deeply connected. Jeffrey Epstein was throwing several parties in a month. His parties in Manhattan and Palm Beach were designed to look like standard elite gatherings. By filling his guest lists with politicians, businessmen, celebrities, and a prince, he created an environment where the presence of young girls seemed like a social quirk rather than a crime. In 1996, the first real chance to stop the nightmare appeared. Maria Farmer, a young artist working for Jeffrey Epstein, discovered something horrifying. After she and her sister were assaulted, she learned that Epstein had stolen nude photographs she had taken of her younger sisters for her art. Terrified, Maria called the FBI. She tried to warn them that a billionaire was keeping a modeling book of child pornography and trafficking young girls. But as she began to explain, the unthinkable happened. The FBI agent hung up on her. A Palm Beach police officer receives a call from a distressed mother. Her daughter, 14 years old, is a student at Royal Palm Beach High School. The girl says she was harassed and abused by Jeffrey Epstein and his wealthy friends at his Palm Beach mansion. Local police in Palm Beach open an investigation and begin interviewing other girls. When detectives executed the warrant, they uncovered items that aligned with what girls and other witnesses had told them during interviews. Investigators documented things such as phone message books filled with female names, a high school transcript linked to one of the complainants, condoms, sex toys including vibrators, massage tables, and photographs of young girls throughout the house. Elements that corroborated several victims' statements about who was coming and going to the property. Hidden cameras were also found in multiple rooms of the mansion, which matched earlier reports about Epstein's intense, surveillance-like setup. After the search of Epstein's Palm Beach mansion in 2005, detectives from the Palm Beach Police Department continued a months-long investigation. More victims came forward. Dozens of underage girls gave similar independent accounts. Police documented disturbing patterns, recruitment, payments, massages, sexual abuse, and strict warnings not to tell their parents. By 2006, the Palm Beach police had built a slam dunk case. They had 30 identified victims, a search warrant that yielded hundreds of photos, and a clear path to a life sentence for the billionaire. But then, the justice system was hijacked. Normally, if a prosecutor has a mountain of evidence, including sworn testimonies from dozens of victims, they file charges directly. Barry Krischer, however, chose to hand the case to a grand jury. Why it was unusual. 1. Grand jury proceedings are entirely private. No public record exists of what evidence Krischer chose to show, or, more importantly, what he chose to hide. 2. The prostitute rebranding. The most damaging aspect of Krischer's approach was the shift in language. The police were investigating sexual battery of a minor, a first-degree felony carrying life in prison. Krischer's office shifted the focus to solicitation of prostitution. By moving the goalposts from child sexual abuse to prostitution, the legal system effectively blamed the victims. It framed 14 and 15-year-old girls as savvy businesswomen selling a service, rather than children being groomed and trafficked. Despite having evidence involving over 30 girls, the grand jury returned a single solitary count of soliciting a person for prostitution, a charge so light it was practically an invitation for Epstein to keep going. In 2006, the FBI enters the picture. Over roughly a year, the FBI prepared a detailed prosecution memorandum concluding that Epstein could be charged with multiple federal felonies, potentially carrying life imprisonment. This memo was delivered to federal prosecutors in mid-2007. Despite the FBI's findings, Alexander Acosta, then the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, chose not to pursue federal charges. Instead, Acosta's office entered into negotiations with Epstein's legal team, which included high-profile defense lawyers. These talks happened behind closed doors. The victims are not invited and told that the investigation is ongoing. This violated the Crime Victims' Rights Act. In September 2007, Acosta's office finalized a non-prosecution agreement with Epstein that barred all federal charges. Under the deal, Epstein pleaded guilty in Florida state court to 2 prostitution-related offenses, only one involving a minor. and was sentenced to 13 months in county jail with work release, allowing him to leave custody 6 days a week. The agreement also granted immunity to unnamed potential co-conspirators, language broad enough to shield other individuals from prosecution. The deal didn't just protect Epstein, it protected his co-conspirators, a group that included Ghislaine Maxwell and others, effectively shutting down the FBI's ability to follow the trail of the larger trafficking ring. After serving his controversial jail sentence, Epstein moved quickly to rehabilitate his public image. He poured money into elite universities, charitable foundations, and high-profile scientific initiatives, positioning himself as a wealthy patron of education and research. He rebuilt access to powerful social circles, and for the next 11 years, the devil was free. For 11 years, Epstein's lawyers argued this meant the entire US government had promised never to charge him for these crimes again. It wasn't until 2019 that prosecutors in New York argued that a deal signed in Florida doesn't protect you in a different state, which is how they finally were able to go after him once again. When the wheels touched the concrete at Teterboro, the architect didn't find a waiting limousine or a discreet security detail. He found a trap already set. Federal agents were standing on the tarmac, the quiet choreography of an arrest unfolding in plain sight. Handcuffed and facing the full weight of the law, he was in big trouble, his carefully built world beginning to crumble. Epstein applied for bail. He was willing to let the government put a lien on his property to turn his wealth into a guarantee. But this time, it isn't enough. His lawyer brings the answer. There will be no bail. The clock wasn't just ticking for Jeffrey Epstein. It was ticking for everyone who had ever shared a table with him, posed for a photo with him, or boarded a plane at his invitation. Public statements followed one familiar script. I barely knew him. We weren't friends. It was just one flight. But before any trial could begin, before any names could be tested in open court, the case took its final, irreversible turn. The first warning came late at night. On July 23, 2019, just weeks after his arrest, Jeffrey Epstein was found injured and semi-conscious in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York. At first, officials called it a possible suicide attempt. Later, Epstein claimed he had been assaulted by his cellmate, a former police officer who was facing quadruple murder charges at the time. After the incident, Jeffrey was placed on suicide watch. Under protocol, a correction officer would require to check on him every few minutes around the clock. For 6 days they watched him, and then for reasons that remain buried in the logs they stopped. They decided danger had passed. August 8, 2019, 2 days before his death, Jeffrey Epstein signs his final document. He moves his entire $577 million fortune into a private entity called the 1953 Trust. This wasn't about inheritance, it was about litigation. By placing his assets in a trust based in the US Virgin Islands, he created a final wall between his wealth and his victims. It made the process of seeking restitution significantly harder, slower, and more extreme. Epstein's cellmate is transferred out of the unit despite a psychiatric order requiring a cellmate for safety. Epstein has left entirely alone in his cell. For the first time since his arrival at the MCC, the man who knew too much was granted total privacy. Epstein spent 8 hours with his legal team. They were reviewing 2,000 pages of evidence unsealed by the court that morning. He is proactive, stoic. He does not act like a man in despair. Instead, he spends the day with his defense, taking notes, discussing legal strategy. Jeffrey Epstein asks the guard for a phone call to his mother. It's a lie. His mother has been dead for 15 years. No one checks the records. No one verifies the name. The line isn't monitored. The phone connects. For 15 minutes, Epstein speaks in private. No witnesses, no transcript, no questions. The concrete walls hold the sound, then let it disappear. When the call ends, nothing is written down. No one asks who was on the other end. It will be his last call. Whatever was said goes with him. He is being escorted to his cell for one last time after the anonymous final phone call. This is the last time Jeffrey Epstein is seen on camera. The footage is low resolution and silent. The security rules for the special housing unit are clear. Guards must walk the halls and check every cell every 30 minutes. But tonight the rules are ignored. They remain asleep for several hours. While they sleep, no one is watching the hallways. No one is checking the cells. At some point during the night, they wake up. Instead of admitting they missed the rounds, they pick up their pens. They fill in the logbooks with fake names, fake times. They sign their names certifying that Jeffrey Epstein was alive and well at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. It is a lie. The checks never happened.